Hi everyone, I'm Christy Langwell. I am the president of Redwood Writers, and welcome to Author Launch. I want to thank you so much for being here to support our authors. I know there is a lot going on today, so I really appreciate that you took time out of this busy day to be here to support our authors. We have 18 authors, a full slate of authors here for Author Launch who have published books this year, and publishing books is no joke. There is so much that goes on beyond the writing. There is, the getting the editor or the publisher. There's marketing it and putting it out there. There's so much involved behind the scenes for putting a book out there. So anything that we can do to celebrate this whole process is, it's just incredible that you guys are here to help us with that. So congratulations to all the authors who are here. I want to do a special thank you. A special thank you to Nancy Economy who put this all together. Nancy has been fantastic from every single detail. Everything that you see here, she has coordinated. She has been the go-to for all the authors. Every single question that they've had, she's been there to answer. So thank you so much for all your hard work. I really appreciate it. I want to thank everybody who contributed to our potluck. At the break, please feel free to come and enjoy some goodies over here. And that includes our cake that Judy ordered that is just lovely with the Author Launch logo. It looks incredible. We will be cutting into that at the break, so make sure you get a piece. And then another fun thing that we have going on is we have a raffle. So all of you guys should have gotten a raffle ticket. And if you didn't, can you see Milena, who was raising her hand? If you did not get a ticket, come see her at the break. At the break. And another special thing is you get an extra raffle ticket from Mara if you purchase one of our Redwood Seeds coffees. Now the raffle is going to be really exciting. We have 5 bottles of wine paired with 5 transitions, which was our 2024 anthology. So we have those. And then our grand prize is something from Susanna Jansen, who put together a box of goodies that is themed to her book. It's a travel box, and it has really cool stuff like coffee, Ecuadorian chocolate. It has a lot of travel-themed stuff. So make sure, first of all, that you come and check out all the books. But if you want to see what's in there, come check out Susanna Jansen's booth. But that'll be our grand prize at the end. So make sure you hold on to your raffle tickets and you stay to the end, because that's how you can win a prize if your ticket is picked. The way that this is going to go, the schedule for today is we're going to go through 9 authors, and then we're going to go to break. And at break, I really encourage you, as you're getting your food, to also come visit the author tables and purchase a book. This is how we support our authors. Purchase more than one book. That would be even better. After the break, we'll go and do 9 more authors, and then we'll have more time for book sales, and we will also have our raffle. The authors, you should know this, but just when the author is up speaking, if you're the next in line, please just kind of wait in the wings. I'm going to have Alex over here showing where he's at, because he's waiting in the wings. It's a cool little cubby. It's really cute and cozy. So that's where you'll be while you're waiting. And then before I let you go, I just want to do my announcements right now so that we can get into Author Launch uninterrupted. So we hold meetings here every 3rd Saturday. Today's the 4th Saturday, but normally it is the 3rd Saturday at 11 a.m. over in the Cypress Room here at the Finley Center. And our next meeting is on April 18th with Robin Gabbert. Can you raise your hand, Robert? Robin Gabbert she's going to be doing the magic of ekphrastic. So all you poetry buffs, you need to come to that meeting for Poetry Month and to learn more about ekphrastic poetry. And Robin is our expert on this, and she has so much good stuff to say. So that's definitely something you don't want to miss. April 18th at 11 a.m. And then my other announcement is that in May, we're going to be introducing the slate for the Redwood Writers Board. Now, if this is something that you're interested in or you know somebody, you can nominate them And come talk to me, president@redwoodwriters.org, or just come talk to me for more information on that. But we'll be introducing that in May. Roger, you're giving me a confused look. Is that? Okay, we're cool. Okay, and with that, I am going to go ahead and, one last thing, I'm sorry. At the end, I will also be announcing one of the authors who has won the best booth display. So if you have opinions, come tell me. Try to sway my mind. All right, with that, I'm going to introduce Alex Alexander with his book, The New Freedom: What Happens when Jobs Disappear. Thank you.
How many of you would like to be smarter if you could? I knew the hands would go from that. Okay. No matter how grounded you already are, how many of you would like to improve your ability to deal with emotional overwhelm? You know, anger, fear, anxiety. Yeah. Not everybody. No matter how objective and thoughtful you are, how many of you would like to improve your judgment and make better decisions? Okay. No matter how good your relationships are at the moment, with partners, family, friends, business associates, and even with strangers, how many of you would like to make them better? Okay. And how many of you would like to get better at spotting opportunities and avoiding potential troubles? Yeah. Okay, so we're on the same page now, aren't we? Would it surprise you that a leadership book could help you in all these ways and more? It can, and it will. Leadership skills make you a better, more successful human being, even if you're not a leader. So here's my main point. Leader Mind, that's the title of the book, is a book about leadership, but it's also a book about all those things that we just raised our hands about. It's a way to make ourselves better. You don't have to be a leader to think like a leader, but if you can learn to think like a leader, your whole life gets better. Okay. Why do I know that? When I was a small business coach teaching business owners how to run successful businesses, the training was all about management, but that's a specific form of leadership, isn't it? As their business skills improves, our clients reported to us that their lives outside of business also improved, sometimes dramatically and not just financially. When I taught leadership to students at Menlo College and Santa Clara University, many of my students reported that their other coursework improved, and they attributed the improvement to what they were learning in my leadership classes. When I taught leadership to adult learners, they reported that their workplace experiences were improving, and that it was leadership skills that were responsible for the improvement, even for those who are not managers. And some of them became managers while taking my course, and they attributed that to what they learned about leadership. So let me skip ahead here because I think I'm getting close on time here. You can't change your innate level of intelligence. That's kind of built in. But leadership skills help you make the most of the intelligence you were born with. You can literally, and this is not an exaggeration, you can literally get smarter by using your innate brain power to better effect. So all these benefits, if you read leadership books, and especially mine because it's geared towards cognitive abilities and thinking processes, the learning kind of sneaks up on you. Just by reading about it, some of these effects start taking place. Just being aware of ways that your mind can work better in a leadership capacity or just as a person. It starts getting better. Sounds like hype, I know, but it's not. So don't take my word for it. Read my work, read my book, do the work, and answer one more question. Who wants to buy my book?
The other book, I don't know the title of the other book, and Every Ribbon Thing. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is a change to poetry. Oh, yeah. Hold it.
Yes.
Can you
Hear me? I'm going to read 3 poems today. The first is from Every Ribbon Thing, which is a more general collection. And this is the title poem. Every Ribbon Thing. Looking around, it all seems bruised. Maine from inception. Yet I still hold hope of a loving outcome. It may seem futile, but I cup it in my hand, a fragile swallowtail of faith, bold black markings on dandelion yellow. That's why I read novels, but never thrillers. There's enough negligence and worse right here, dealt out on a daily basis. Our world straight on, starvation, murder, fires, but riven hearts radiating love, piercing light pours through the cracks like suns, generous and free. Strip me clean of worries, our county's loss of bees, rising temps and fires, some states banning books. Strip away my gun terror and fake news fear. While you're at it, take self-interest too. Leave me fresh day wonder, squirrel tail a twitch shimmies up the feeder, gophers thrive below. Light tenders the field, house sparrows flit nearby, hummingbirds sip their fill. Keep me this close in. This poem is from Strange Grace, The Ending Season, which is a book about impermanence, aging, and death, and it is not depressing. This is the final poem in the book called The Wish. As I get old, this wish grows strong. Leave no trace, no name, no gravestone nor place to be found, but in squirrel play and billowing clouds, late light spilling through birch on the hill, crickets and frog song, the chorus at twilight, spring breezes touch, and the creek's steady fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Of the story where Yana has learned that Uncle Stavros is bringing a 35-year-old suitor named Thanasi for dinner, probably for her to be her groom. Uncle Stavros believes Thanasi might protect Yana because he failed to protect Olympia. Yana hears this news and runs into her room. So here's the short reading. Yana looked up to the mirror. Black eyes, black hair, smooth olive skin, just like Olympia. But she was a shadow of her sister's beauty. Taller, skinnier, more angles, hair flying, no soft waves like Olympia's that naturally rippled around her face. No curvy figure to hold a man's attention. With a heavy sigh, she turned away from the mirror and stared at a large black and white poster of Marlon Brando, seductively leaning onto the handlebars of his Triumph Thunderbird motorcycle from the movie The Wild One. His beautifully sculpted features gazed upward, all male, all adventure, plenty of swagger. And Yana wanted to be transported into Marlon Brando's world, his renegade hell-bent life in that movie. As Yana studied his eyes, she fell into a daydream. Suddenly, she was no longer in Woodland, but somewhere far into her future, an adult, adventurer too, a wild one. Breathing hard, she pulled her thick dark hair forward and reached for a sharp pair of Olympia's sewing scissors. With one gleaming snip of the shears, Yana slashed off her heavy length of hair, a maiden's burden, and allowed it to drop on the floor. Energized now, she squinted at her image in the mirror as if it were a pool of water. Yana tossed the scissors onto the bed and dashed into the alley. She nearly tripped on the unofficial lost and found box, which lay rotting with card players, forgotten jackets, and empty wallets inside. Digging down to the bottom of the weather-stained cardboard box, she pulled out a thick, worn black leather jacket made for a man twice her size. She slipped into the heavy jacket, snapping it in the front. Not satisfied yet, she dug back in the box and found a pair of a man's straight black cotton pants, probably cast off from one of her uncles. Pulling them on, she imagined she was a young photographer artist, and she craved a distinctive stylish touch, something Marlon Brando would approve of. Racing back to her bedroom, she dug into Olympia's shallow top drawer and found a long, silky scarf, the color of champagne, with a small, delicate Greek key Olympia had embroidered near the edge. Perfect. A little Greek drama felt just right. She stared at herself in the mirror. Now she was almost ready for her prospective Greek groom. Shrouded in her black, tough guy ensemble, Yana swiped a few dark lines around her lashes with the eyeliner she had used for school plays. Her black outfit matched her mood, angry, defensive, a little bit dangerous. Suddenly she remembered her high school graduation practice was over and she had missed it. She laughed out loud. Wild ones did not practice.
Thank you, Chrissy. This is my book, Somehow I Haven't Drowned, Robin Gabbert, and I'm going to read you 3 poems from the book. The first one is called Kisses. Kisses. 15, a milestone. The year I learned what it really was to kiss. Oh, I had kissed before, made out in cars, on couches, tried on the experience with boys going through the same kissing motions. Lips together or mouths wide open with flopping tongues like eels on an exploratory mission. But at 15, a boy with freckles and a mischievous smile touched me with his unhurried, soft-seeking lips and a gentle tongue. The universe drifted in a slow-moving arc around us. Eyes closed, I could feel only the pinprick of stars down my spine. Could not see them spinning around us. I was spun into raw silk, immersed in a warm cocoon as we stood at my porch light each night, hoping it would not be the last time when a kiss could make my bones light up like luminarias. My second poem is called Invisible, after Rita Dove's poem, Daystar. I find my palace among ordinary things, amidst stars and trees. Slip into that space between dark and light, find a niche, enter my palace, which is not a palace. I am not a prisoner here, but at this moment, leaving is unfathomable. No need to return to the creature who snaps and growls, finds ways to turn simple things into squabbles. I'll stay here, write him a poem, paint him into a mural, pick up his pieces and sew them like animal hides until they make a pleasing form. Eventually I'll go back to see the ones I love. They are why I stayed for decades. Even after the meat started to spoil, the dessert no longer appealing. Now I am primeval, and I can always visit my palace, the soothing fog between the dimness and the dusk, as there are those who do not notice the shift in the air, the brief flicker of leaves, the glaze of eyes, a distant stare, or the too long sharpening of knives. My last poem is very short. It's called War. Like a croc in a muddy river, ugly and terrible, it rears its hateful head. Not even a few years pass, not even 1 year or a season, before it starts again somewhere, before some son or daughter, father or mother, in some country far or near, must strap on a weapon. March to the diatribe of some dictator or oligarch's unbridled greed. The innocent must bare their teeth. The croc needs red meat.
Thanks so much. Actually, I have Redwood writers to thank for becoming an editor. After editing the anthology in 23, I discovered I loved editing and I love bringing together voices. This is Love Notes 2.0. It's the second in a series of 3 Love Note anthologies. I'm going to read just a very little bit from my intro, and then I'm going to turn my mic over to Lorenzo to share his contribution to Love Notes. Okay, found it. I have it on good authority that you must believe a book into being. From the start, Love Notes 2.0 was a book that insisted on being. Actually, the essence of the book, if you can call it that, demanded it. Once launched, the Love Notes project began to exert a gravitational pull of its own, calling in soulful creatives whose wisdom and light were so unmistakable as to be written in neon above their heads. Some stories appeared instantly. Some stories evolved like caterpillars into butterflies. I learned in the process of stewarding the second edition of Love Notes that the creative spark, multiplied by a chorus of voices united in vision, evolves with grace. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So my contribution is on my love of drumming and love of music. And I wanted to trace back, where did that love come from? Where did that rhythm come from? And so I will pick up where I met my experience in Africa. I remember walking down the dirt road with a guide when he came across one of his friends who had the most beautiful sounding and looking djembe I'd ever seen. The sound was mesmerizing as he moved his hands across the soft skin of the drum. The connection was so powerful that, without a single thought, I gave away the shoes I was wearing in exchange for the drum. A tangible symbol of the night, music claimed its place at the core of my being. That instrument now sits among my most treasured possessions, its skin forever echoing these first heartbeats heard across the ocean. For years after leaving Ghana, the djembe was my anchor during moments of joy and sorrow. I played alone in my room or sometimes with my wife, letting each rhythm tell stories of distant markets, bustling festivals where joy and laughter flow like a steady stream. Yet something essential was missing. A call and a response, the electric give and take that only emerges when your hands strike skin in unity. Drumming has always been for me as much about community as about music. It was not enough to play, I needed to play with others. Thank you.
I'm so happy to be here. Just one little quick announcement. I have a workshop coming up on May 2nd on how to build your author platform and build your email list. If you're interested, you can check it on the break. Thank you. I'm going to be reading from Chapter 1, Daughter of the Dispossessed, which is a prequel to my novel Cave of Whispers, which just came out. And I'm going to just read a short piece. Chapter 1, A Child of the Forest. Moss-covered planks creaked and groaned as Lord Gabriel stepped onto the porch. He shoved open the door of the tiny cabin with his boot and recoiled from the smell of dirty clothes, old cooking oil, and moldy straw. The only light flickered from a candle on a rough table and twilight filtering through dirty windows. A man and woman dressed in rags trembled in the shadows. "Where's the child?" Gabriel asked. The man gestured to a girl with pale skin and white hair hunched over blankets on the floor. Gabriel pierced them with a furious glare. "This is how you treat a child gifted with magic?" The couple retreated even farther into the corner, afraid to speak. Gabriel took a threatening step forward. Answer me. She's been but a curse. The cowering man raised his shoulders and stepped forward. The halfling should have been left in the forest for the demons. Gabriel grabbed the edge of the table and shoved it aside. The candle and holder crashed to the floor, its light fizzling out. He lurched forward and seized the man by his collar. You ignorant cur, you should pray to whatever God you believe in that I don't tie you up and leave you in the forest for the wolves. He released the man, wiped his hands on his cloak, and threw a bag of coins onto the dusty floor. It's more than you deserve. Consider yourselves lucky to be alive. Gabriel walked over to the child and knelt. Her eyes grew wide, and she scooted back on the floor. What's your name? She pulled the blanket onto her lap. He extended his hand. I won't hurt you. The girl placed her palm into his. Her magic shimmered raw and uncontrolled. Gabriel smirked. His source had been right about the strange child at the forest edge. Won't you tell me your name? Aleph, she whispered. That's lovely. How old are you? 6. Gabriel stood, pulled her from the floor, and felt her ribs through the thin cotton shift. He turned to her parents and scowled. This child is starving. She refuses to eat what we give her, the man glared at Gabriel. She goes out into the forest and eats bugs and the gods knows what else. Gabriel shifted his attention to the woman huddled behind her husband. What do you have to say? Are you her mother? She shook her head and pointed towards the trees outside the window. A baby was crying and I searched for it. Someone abandoned her beneath a tree and I feared the wolves would eat her, so I brought her home. I told her to take the unnatural thing back and leave her to the forest creatures, but she refused, her husband grumbled. Gabriel's nostrils flared. You let her languish here instead of finding someone to teach her? The woman stepped forward. I felt she was special. She glanced over her shoulder, but the man balled his fist. Shut up, woman. Enough, Gabriel glared at them. You rescued the child. For that kindness, I'll spare you. He strode towards the door and turned back. Tell no one where the child has gone. If anyone asks, she disappeared into the forest. They nodded. The cabin door opened and Gabriel's marshal of the guard, Cassian, stuck his head in. Is everything all right, sir? No. Gabriel pushed past Cassian with a child in his arms. What about them? Cassian pointed at the man and woman. Leave them. Tell your men to mount up. Gabriel walked out the door. Cassian stepped off the porch and motioned to his 2 guards. Erdic and Johann stood at attention by the horses. You heard him. Mount up. Gabriel marched toward his horse, and his boots struck something. He peered down at a pile of tiny bones scattered across the forest floor. Ayla squirmed to free herself from his grasp. Gabriel let her slide to the ground. She gathered the scattered pieces and reverently placed them in a pile. Johann pointed towards the trees. More bones were hanging in strands that twisted in the breeze. Gabriel extended his hand. Aleph, come here and leave those. She fussed with the bone cache, arranging them in an order that only made sense to her. Come now, Gabriel frowned. She picked up a small animal skull and clasped it to her chest. Edric and Johann exchanged glances.
Carol Jacobson with her nonfiction book, Teaching Black History Through Art.
Hello, today I'm going to read from my 7th book, just came out this month. First I'll read the introduction, and then I'm going to read a few snippets from various parts of the book. Introduction. What did it take to be an entrepreneur more than 100 years ago when you were both a woman and black? In Enterprising Entrepreneurs, 16 Women of Color and Accomplishment, these women show us the answer: courage, vision, determination. For them, business was never just about money. It was a way to survive, gain freedom, and help others rise. At a time when they were denied fair pay, respect, loans, and legal protection, they still found ways to build, earn, and lead. In this book, you'll meet women who noticed what their communities needed and stepped up. Some created businesses to fill urgent gaps, like access to jobs, banking, housing, or truthful news. Some broke into brand new fields like film, television, and innovative caregiving. They became pioneers because no one would open the door for them. Others used their success to give back, supporting schools, children, families, and entire communities. Each chapter includes a painted portrait to bring these women to life. Through color, warmth, and powerful presence, the portraits help
Through color, warmth, and powerful presence, the portraits help readers connect with them not as distant historical figures, but as real people, creative, brave, and full of purpose. This is a book about seeing a need and taking action. It is about women who created opportunities where none existed. It is about practical choices that became powerful acts of courage. As you read, look for what connects them all. It is not one dramatic moment, but persistent, steady resolve. Their lives changed through persistence, discipline, and daily decision to keep building, and that sustained determination helped change history. Filling the need. What do you do? What do you do when something essential is missing? These women did not wait. They built what was needed to fill a gap. Ida B. Wells, 1862 to 1931, fearless journalist and publisher. When the world tried to shut down her newspaper, Ida B. Wells didn't quit journalism. She reinvented it as a one-woman publishing and speaking business. Ida was an educator, investigator, journalist, newspaper owner, and civil rights leader who used the power of the press to expose racial violence and injustice in the United States. Her courage to continue after violent retaliation made her one of the most determined journalists of her time. On the cutting edge. What happens when a woman steps into a space where no one expects her to belong? She changes what is possible. Lena Richard, 1862 to 1950, a trailblazer in food, publishing, and television. Before celebrity chef was even a phrase, Lena Richard was already building a food empire with skill, grit, and a sharp business mind. She was a groundbreaking American chef, entrepreneur, author, and television pioneer whose work helped shape modern food media long before cooking shows became popular. Yes, I didn't grab the fork here. Giving back. What if success was not just about what you earn, but what you give? Eartha and Clara White, 1845 to 1920 and 1876 to 1974. Building businesses to serve building businesses to serve the community. Clara White and her daughter, Eartha M. White, understood something powerful. A business could do more than earn money. It could feed people, shelter families, and give hope to those who had been pushed aside. In Jacksonville, Florida, they used their skills, their property, and their determination to build not only financial stability, but also a lifeline for their community. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Okay, next we have Susanna Jansen with her memoir, Once Upon a Continent. And if you're looking in your program, this is a human-run organization. We accidentally copied another person's book in her space. So I'm going to read what her book is about so that doesn't take part of her time. Unaware that she would fall into a cannibal-sized soup pot in Peru, risk losing toes and fingers on a train high in the Andes, and high jump out of a marriage proposal in a Bolivian, discotheque. Susanna Jansen launched onto free fall out of her comfort zone and chose the challenge of adventure, danger, discovery, and a different version of herself. So here's Susanna.
Actually, I was looking forward to doing it without the microphone. I think I have a huge voice. But thank you for that introduction. And I might take just an extra couple of seconds because I would like to tell you also that in 1979, I did jump out of my comfort zone with one of my students, my age. I was 29, I think she was 30. Joyce was her name, and we decided to take on the South American continent. We did so for 4 months. I also, in addition to that, I also visited Machu Picchu with just 6 other tourists, downed shots of firewater with grave diggers in Ecuador, and sailed the Galapagos Islands before they were discovered by crowds of tourists. I met a volcano in Patagonia that changed my life. So Once Upon a Continent is my cultural and deeply personal odyssey of South America etched through 4 months of charting the unknown. Cusco, Peru. Joyce and I were walking back to the hotel after dark and came upon what looked to be a street party. We circled around the edge of a tightly packed crowd of about 80 people, all enthusiastically cheering, because the object of their attention was a pyrotechnic display, the likes of which I had never seen before and will never witness again due to the probability of an increase in the lawyer population and liability suits. But it lives indelibly in my memory for its colorful weirdness, for the element of flaming danger, and of course, for the aftermath. Joyce and I edged closer to the backs of the people crowded before us, trying to be unobtrusive and yet still get a look at what was going on in front of this pulsating mass of Peruvians. Flames were flashing, and we caught the acrid smell of burning wood before we could make out the details. Luckily, we were a head taller than most of the Quechuans, the native indigenous people, and we focused our eyes on the 2 men facing the press of people, now announcing their second act. Each held a long, large, rickety wooden construction attached to the end of a pole. An airplane on one, a ship on the other. The pilot of the airplane had lit the tail on fire, and as flames spread through the structure, propellers began spinning, rockets were firing, and small pieces of moving parts, tinder turned to cinder, flew off, further stoking the excitement of the crowd. Then the captain of the ship put a match to the hull and made the flaming frigate sail toward the onlookers, spewing parts of stern and prow, shooting cannonballs with pieces of mast sparking as they fell to the ground. The crowd was stirred into a frenzy by the time they brought out the last pole from which hung the grand finale of the fireworks show, a 4-foot effigy of a man with lanky splintered wood limbs. There was raucous laughter as everyone noticed the outsized protrusion from its crotch. The touch of flame started a chain reaction from one flailing body part to the next. The 180 degrees of humanity, with these 2 curious American girls bringing up the rear, pressed together even tighter. When the male member caught fire, hoots of delight filled the night air. With heat and ingenious engineering, the crotch assemblage began a 360-degree spin, faster with every rotation. I'm glad you have very bright, intelligent
imaginations because you have to be able to visualize. Suddenly, a flaming piece of penis the size of a barbecue briquette broke off and sailed towards the throng. Like a school of fish moving in unison, the whole mass gasped and jerked violently away from the projectile. The momentum of bodies was like a sudden poke to a line of dominoes, except that no one fell down, except for Joyce and me. She onto hard ground, and I, fanny first, into a huge pot of thick soup, overseen by a Quechuan woman planning to sell to a hungry crowd after the pyrotechnic event. I was in shock with soup up to my armpits. Joyce was on her feet before I even registered what had happened. Something about a flying penis. And grabbing me by the lapels of my trench coat gave me enough momentum to get my hands onto the sides of the metal cauldron to help her hoist me out and upright. I steadied myself, gooey and shaken, but not injured. My clothes are ruined, but I'm lucky to be out of that mess. Or so I thought, while turning toward Joyce, who was looking ominously over my shoulder.
Thank you, Susanna. All right, so rounding out our first half of authors is Mara Johnstone with the Redwood Writers Anthology, Redwood Seeds.
So this is a team effort. With a lot of people in Redwood Writers submitted little seeds of advice on writing, editing, publishing, just everything that has to do with what we do. And it came together into something really nice. This was the idea for a way to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Redwood Writers. So this branch of the California Writers Club has been around for 50 years, which sounds pretty impressive. And in that time, we've gathered a lot of knowledge. And it's nice to be able to put some of it together that we can just inspire each other and share with our friends and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to read the first few. My advice is this. Treat all advice like a salad bar. Look at all the options and then try a little of this, a little of that. Find what tastes good to you and go from there. You may need or want to change what you normally eat, and that's okay. And that advice is from Stacy Nordstrom. If you're hit with the dreaded writer's block, try opening a blank document and writing down what the problem is. What can't you figure out? Start listing solutions that won't work. Keep going. Eventually, you'll find one that will. That one's for me. That's my favorite solution to writer's block. Always have a notebook handy in your pocket, your backpack, your bedside table to capture that fleeting flash of inspiration. Whether listening to jazz, overhearing a conversation on the train, or getting up in the middle of the night, write it down. You may think you'll remember it. You won't. Guaranteed you won't. Anita wrote. I'll agree with that one for sure. Here's one from our friend Amrita. This one's in the form of a poem titled Why Spare? And here's a quote to start it off with. A certain kind of diction in poems serves to sharpen the blade of silence, making us hear it more loudly, more accurately. Jory Graham. Pare away what isn't poem. Examine what remains. Read it, speak it, note the flow, born of silence, engraving, and echo. And this other one starts with a different quote. There's no such thing as great writing, there's only great rewriting. That's from Ernest Hemingway, Paris Review 1948, winner of the Pulitzer, Bronze Star, and Nobel Honors, 5 best-selling novels, 15 stories adapted for movies. Rewriting worked for Mr. Hemingway, and now works for me. 11 sales so far. John Ledjack. This may sound simple, but at the top of my page I write, good writing, keep going. If I have doubts about what I've written, I simply look up and keep going. Edits can come later. On to the next chapter. That good advice there is where I will leave it. That was from Nancy Economy. So come to the rest of the table.